pieces and then screw things together. I'll tell you what, this tail looks identical to the Bayhawk. I don't know that this tail is any different at all. Shape, size, configuration, I think this is the exact same thing. I'd really have to pull it apart to look at it. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and plug these in. Again, a lot of this is for, hey, you know what, I've never put a model together, so let's do that. It's not meant for you advanced guys. I know that you guys can do this in your sleep. We've all put a bunch of models together and we're good at it, but there's a lot of people out there that aren't, and you know, would like a little help. So any connections I can't see, I don't trust. So simply, you can get all types of connectors and goofy things. I just simply use some electrical tape. I take off a piece of this thing and it keeps the weight down, keeps space savings too. So all I am going to do, if you can see that, I hope, with these electrical connectors, is I make sure orange to orange, brown to brown, or whatever color configuration you're using, always make sure that they are pushed together well. And then I go ahead and I just wrap a piece of electrical tape nice and tight around these connectors so they don't come loose. There's guys that use hot glue and use all kinds of stuff. Again, a lot of ways to skin a cat. You want to know what my favorite saying is? The world is full of squirrels that couldn't make a decision. Or the road is full of squirrels that couldn't make a decision, I should say. I like that saying, just because sometimes it's right or it's wrong, whatever, but I made a decision and I'm going with it. If you sit there and you dance one way and another, eventually you're going to get squished. So this thing bolts down with 3 screws. This ought to be fairly easy. All right, I can take these things and I am going to simply tuck them back here into the tail. See if we can leave these things lay flat. Sometimes they give you, in these planes, just way too much wire. So I'm going to actually take these and try and slide them in a little bit and get them out of the way. Again, if I fight with stuff tonight, you get to see it. So we want to make sure that we don't pinch wires, connectors. Try not to shove the square peg in the round hole. So we're going to slide those in there. I'm going to take my wires. Let me look at my rudder. There's no bottom to that. That has to get pushed in. So I'm going to fold those wires over like so. We're going to simply slide that tail in place and down. So all that wiring there can just simply get tucked in. And I'm going to put in my screws. Now, these screws are all metal machine screws. They use a hex head top to them. They're all tapered. I've never found a need to put any type of Loctite or anything on these bolts. I do check mine from time to time, but I can tell you this, do not use Loctite on this stuff, because especially red, you're going to have to heat it to get it off, and then that's obviously not going to work, and you're going to rip it apart. So never tighten up just one screw, put them in a little bit at a time each one, go to the next one so you pull the surface down evenly, and then you know, you can check them periodically. It should be part of your pre-flight at the field, you know, to make sure that stuff stays together. But Loctite that gets on plastic, rubber, or foam will eat it. So you have to be very, very careful when using Loctite. So here goes 3 out of our 10 screws. And again, we're going to tighten up a little bit at a time till we get there. Make sure everything fits in there nice and snug. All right, good enough. Now we're going to go ahead and install the rudder. Rudder's the same deal. Simple connections at the top, orange to orange, brown to brown, black to black, whatever you're doing. Make sure it's nice and tight. Peel off a piece of electrical tape. Again, start wrapping around the edge of the connector, make it nice and tight. This way, stuff don't come loose when it vibrates. I'd rather have a bunch of fail-safes in here than have a problem and have a plane crash. So it looks like that wiring we just simply tucked down in the inside of there, and we are going to push the rudder down into place. Easy, good fit, looks nice. And then you always want to make sure with these things, like the actual rudder itself clears the base underneath, because I've seen that happen before. So again, 3 more screws, 2 on the sides there, 1 up front. So I don't know if you guys got a chance to catch the football game last night, the national championship. Congrats to LSU. I'm not a huge college football guy, but I like watching any football. But I am a Bengals fan. It's hard to figure out how I'm a Bengals fan, and I like watching football, right? Because the Bengals suck, and they have for a long time. But anyway, I guess I got to see the Bengals' new quarterback last night. He looked pretty good, Joe Burrow. So, two best football players to ever come out of LSU. Can you guess who they are? One's Joe Burrow, the quarterback, and the other was Bobby Boucher. If you don't know who Bobby Boucher is, you need to Google that. So, my mama told me, Mama always said. So, all right, so that was super difficult. We got the rudder installed. Got the horizontal stabs installed. I guess we can get rid of this, right? Get that out of the way. So we got some wings. Those things were already set up from yesterday. So let's take our lawn dart. Hopefully it don't turn into a lawn dart, right? See how the thing fits in there really nice? So what does our camera angle look like? Can we get that? Can you guys see that all right? So now we're going to take this fiberglass rod, and that is the left wing. Here's the right wing. Now, sometimes these things don't bottom out in there. Like, they go forever, and you have to kind of measure this out. This one actually bottoms out in there. So all you're going to simply do is fit that into one side, and we are going to insert it here. Now, this has these quick tabs. These, you can see it right there, those quick interlock connectors. They haven't had any complaints with this like they have in the Havoc. So I have a feeling the Havoc was a dud. I don't know, some guys out there might like them or whatever. I don't have one. I just haven't heard good things about them. So this thing takes a lot of pressure, I guess, to get in there. Wiggle. And that one's in. And now we can just simply take this out of our cradle, turn it around, lay it in here, and now we will do the same thing on the other side. Get this thing to fit nice and snug. I don't know if this is something that I would realistically take to the field and keep taking the wings off of. This thing's not super huge in transport. It's not like the AL-37. So I think ultimately, once these wings are on, they're on. And I think the other thing is, if you take this apart a lot, I think what you're going to wind up with is loose connector pins. So this thing's kind of a pain right now, trying to line this up. I don't think it's having it. There we go. Like I said, if I fight with it, you're going to see it. So what does that look like? That's nowhere close. And that's the thing too with foam, is you have to be very careful with it, because if you push too hard, you ruin it. So I'm just taking my little Allen driver and putting it down in the holes and trying to pull and wiggle. And it looks like I lined them up a little bit here. See if we can get them to start. No, not quite. is going. Definitely a little bit of aggravation here. I don't know that I would want to do this on a daily basis. So we got 1 out of 4. That one's in. I don't like the way this one's fitting. I may have to loosen that one up a little bit. Rework it. You know what they say, cross thread is better than no thread. That makes those sounds that you don't want to hear. So let's work at the other side. Turn this thing where hopefully you guys can see it. You know, there's really nothing to push, pull on, or anything here. It's really kind of difficult to get things to line up. Trying not to crush the foam. Trying to get these wings to fit. Trying not to break anything, I guess, is key. There's that one. That one back there seems to be pretty lined up. Give it a little wiggle in there. So that one's tight. That one's tight. Three is tight. And 4 I don't like. Get that one back out. A little wiggle. A little tight sounding, but it's going. Yes, they say cross threads better than no threads. All right, so wings are on. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. So, and looks like we have 1 extra. So either I forgot to put it in and thus stuff's gonna fall apart, or they gave me an extra. So you can see the bottom has a nice Tomahawk logo on it. I think I will spray this with some Minwax water-based. So let me see, I think I have a can of that. This commercial brought to you by Minwax polyacrylic water-based clear gloss for that non-yellowing finish. Super shiny. So Warbirds, I use satin. Shiny stuff, I use clear. So a couple coats, a little bit at a time, or it runs and then it looks like garbage and you got to be sanding it off. So let's take this thing off of the stand. Let's look inside. So, can we see inside of there? All right, so there we go on the inside of this thing. So XT90 connector, we have a couple FMS battery straps, which we can open up and get out of the way. There and there. Piece of Velcro that kind of wants to stick, but maybe not. I already have some of that in my batteries. I always leave that sticky piece in there and then the foam part. So let's talk about what receiver I am going to use setup wise. So in this one I am going to be using a 660T with telemetry. So DSMX receiver. So I got to pair this to my radio, so I will go through those functions with you so we can get the gear out on this thing and we can actually look at what that looks like. Here's where I keep my radio, my Spektrum. I got one of these Apache cases from Horizon Hobby, and then you can literally, or not Horizon Hobby, Harbor Freight, and then you could take out the little foam pieces. Makes a nice radio case. I keep my tester in there, servo driver, stuff like that. So anyway, hopefully we can see the radio, and we will, hopefully you guys can see this. Hopefully everything comes up, we can see. So I'm going to go ahead and I need to create a new model for this thing. So we are going to go to hit this button, and we are going to go down to system setup. Yes. So let me do this. Let me go back. I'm going to hit both of those. That's going to pull up all the models that I have in here, all the different planes. I'm going to go down to add new model. Do you want to create a new model? Yes, we want to create. And then let's go with first off model name. So we are going to go through the menu, and this is going to be called a Futura